Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the WASD and Beyond podcast. I'm your host, Nick. Accompanying me this week is Eyyohbee. See, I didn't fuck your name up because you've had to put it in your Instagram and your Twitter and shit.
In my
That's how it's
bio,
pronounced.
yeah.
Or Austin. And it's not Evan. I don't got Evan. I don't got Matt. I don't have anyone else but Eyyohbee or Austin. I'm just gonna call you Austin for the rest of the show if that's cool. All
Yeah,
right.
either or. I always tell people either or.
All right, sweet. So this is going to be an interview this week, and I think you guys are going to be very stoked on what this episode is going to be and what we're going to hit on this episode. Austin's got a lot of cool shit that he does, been a part of, and he's currently a part of right now. So before we get into who Austin is, what he does, and why he's a dope dude, this episode is sponsored by FINALBOSS and LONGY. I am wearing the FINALBOSS Doom shirt.
I did. That was not planned.
That Alan
That was
Wake
not
shirt,
planned
dude.
at all. Yeah,
That
it's
Alan
a
Wake
Final
shirt.
Boss Alan Wake. Oh wait, no,
No, I think
it's
that's
not Final Boss.
espionage.
This is espionage. My Max Payne stuff is Final Boss.
Yeah, the Max Payne stuff. So Eric, yeah, that's right. So Final Boss already put out the Max Payne stuff, and they're doing another Max Payne
2
drop.
stuff is coming. I gotta get the coach's jacket.
Dude,
I gotta get the T-shirt, dude.
That
I'm
coach's
hyped.
jacket. So Eric had
Crazy.
sent me that about a month prior. I get to kind of see some of the shit prior. He starts work on it and all that. Him and Chloe, and he sent me that coach's jacket. I was like, dude, yeah. I was like, absolutely.
Dude, it goes so hard. The big Remedy logo on it.
Dude, it's so fucking insane. So yes, Final Boss and LONGY. They both have drops out right now. Final Boss has Parappa the Rappa and 9 Inch Nails. LONGY has Liquid Swords and Kendrick Lamar. Don't miss that shit. Once it's done, it's done. All right, Austin. Let everybody know exactly who you are, what you do, and let's just start right there.
Yeah. Hi, if we don't know each other. Yeah, my name is Austin or Eyyohbee. I am a lot of things. I play in a metalcore band called Ghost Key. I work on video games for a living at Raven Software. I sometimes stream games on the internet. I also love horror, and Remedy is my favorite company of all time. And I like tabletop games and obviously video games. I think that's it.
Do you fuck with 40K then or no?
Okay, so I think 40K is dope. Like the aesthetic is cool, the world is cool, the lore is dope.
Right.
But it is so prohibitive. Tabletop games in general are pretty prohibitively expensive.
Yes.
But 40K specifically is extremely expensive. Like, Games Workshop does not. Can I cuss?
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
fuck.
I figured. Yeah. But
yeah.
I was just saying, Games Workshop does not fuck around when it comes to pricing.
No, they don't.
Getting a whole army together is hundreds of dollars, and it's a lot. But I think 40K is sick. I just don't play. I currently only play one wargaming style tabletop game, which is it's by a really small indie company called Blackside Studios. It's called Don't Look Back. It's like an 80s horror themed. You play as teens and you're running from the killer, and it's a super fun wargaming style game. All dice, stuff like that. But yeah, it's dope.
Dude, so
40K is tight.
If you ever get into 40K
game.
What'd you say?
I worked on a 40K game. It's the first game I ever worked on.
What 40K game did you work on?
It's a game called Warhammer 40K DACA Squadron. It's like a little arcadey, flight shooter.
With the orcs?
Yeah.
That's
sick. It's on Steam.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's the first game I ever worked on.
Dude, so before we get into gaming, horror, obviously you're a Halloween fan.
Yes, big fan. Not my favorite movie, even though you'd think it is.
What's your favorite horror flick?
Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Absolutely.
Let's go,
Absolutely,
baby.
Man. Bruce Campbell.
It's really hard to see behind me, but I just got my Evil Dead the Game Collector's Edition, which is this guy right here is the Necronomicon. It's the Trick or Treat Studios one. It's dope. I really like it.
Oh, sick, dude.
Other cool shit that came with the collectors, but yeah, Evil Dead 2. I got my Evil Dead 2 pillow right there as well.
I missed out on the collector's edition of that game by a millisecond. I was it was in my cart. I had to go back to work. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, just give me like 2 seconds. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and pretend to take a shit. And I was going to check out, and it was just like, nah.
Yeah, there weren't very. It was like 1,000, and then I want to say there was like 1,001 edition, and then I got like the ultimate, which came with like the soundtrack on vinyl, which I
Yeah.
haven't actually gotten yet because it got delayed because vinyl's all fucked up. But
Yep.
yeah, I like hopped on it because yeah, Evil Dead 2, like one of the best horror films of all time.
Well, Evil
Uh,
Dead 2, the
oh,
interesting
so
thing
good.
is how it transitions into Army of Darkness. Because Evil Dead 2,
Yeah,
for those who don't know, it's basically the reboot of Evil Dead 1.
yeah, it was a
It's
licensing issue. New
yes.
Line Cinema wouldn't give them the rights to their own movie with Evil Dead 1. So they like kind of remade it, but then like even though the first 15 minutes is a recap of the first film, it's really weird.
It's really fucked up what Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Ted Raimi had to do, but ultimately it works in their benefit because you get
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 into Army of Darkness. Which Army of Darkness, the cool thing was it had so many different endings prior to its release, where like just Ash was like either completely fucked, he got back home, he was kind of fucked, or he was just like just stuck. And it's like the beauty behind Sam and Ted Raimi and Bruce Campbell. It's unparalleled, man. I literally have an Evil Dead clock right above my
Oh,
like
sick.
monitors. Like I have so much Evil Dead shit. My wallet is the Middle of Beyond Necronomicon
Oh yeah, yeah.
wallet.
The Middle Beyond stuff super cool.
And I just nuked it though, man. Like I had it in my work pants. I threw it in the wash, and I didn't realize I had done that. And I pulled my pants out of the wash. I'm like, what? Why are my pants heavy? I pulled my wallet out. I'm like, fuck, dude. So I fucked up my Satanic Temple uh membership card. That's fucking wiped. They're not gonna just give me one for free because they want money so bad. And then like my Evil Dead wallet's fucked. It's all fucked. But anyways, so gaming. Let's just hop in before we. I have a tendency to like go off on tangents. So let's just hop in,
Hey, me too. I just love talking about things I love, so I get
dude.
it.
Yes. So like it's gonna be the quintessential questions to start out with, and as I told you, we'll ramp it up and we'll just go into really deeper shit. But like, what got you into first off metal? We'll start with metal and music in
Mhm.
general, because I was a vocalist of a Michigan band, and you are still the vocalist of Ghost Key. And we are having a dispute of which show we played together. I know I played with Ghost Key
Yeah,
one
yeah,
time
we
in
talked about
Michigan.
that.
We cannot figure it out. But so, like, what got you into all this? Being a musician and also gaming, which you would think is synonymous with how it looks nowadays, but it wasn't back in the day. Like, if you were in like a hardcore metal band back in the day, to play in those bands, like you almost had to put on a front of I am only I'm all metal all the time and I'm all hardcore the time and I'm not gaming at all.
Yeah.
Right? But like so like what like got you into all this shit? And we'll start there.
Yeah, I mean like honestly it was all my dad. So my parents were divorced at like a pretty early age. I think it was like 5, maybe even earlier. My dad's always been a big nerd. He was super into video games, like right when they dropped, 2600. Um, but also was super into metal. I mean, you look at photos of him, super rebellious dude in his teens, like love smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, drinking beers. Like pictures of him as a teenager is like all those movies from like the 70s and 80s, or like movies of people in the 70s and 80s. It's like that's my dad. Long hair, like the baseball tee, ripped
Yeah.
acid wash jeans. Um and so yeah, like growing up, my dad was super into metal. Like some of the first bands I remember hearing and like absorbing were Black Sabbath or like Ozzy solo stuff, Dio, Metallica, Slayer. He was also into hair metal, which I didn't really think was cool. I thought it was kind of whack. So, you're like Motley Crue, your Guns N' Roses, stuff like that. Um, I don't know. He always like kind of joked that like for some reason the like satanic stuff I thought was cool, but the hair metal stuff because I wasn't like into girls. Like I was never that. I wasn't that like 8-year-old kid that was like I want to kiss girls. Like I just thought like the devil was cool because he
Yep.
was rebellious and whatever. Um, so yeah, I just didn't get into hair metal for whatever reason. Meanwhile, my mom was like into country and like pop. My mom loves Madonna and stuff, which
Complete
it came up
opposites.
later in my life.
Yeah.
Definitely got into pop later, but same thing with video games. I had a console from literally like the time I was born, and I think I've had basically every console, like every mainline console that's dropped except the Dreamcast and the Saturn. Those are the only two that I've never owned. Played them, but never had them in my possession. My dad raised us on like the original NES and then like the Super Nintendo. He was definitely more Nintendo for a while. And then like PlayStation dropped and he kind of switched. So like PS1, PS2, like some of the earliest games that we played together, Call of Duty, Call of Duty Big Red 1,
Holy
Max Payne,
fuck.
Max Payne 2. I have like a really distinct memory, and we could talk more about Remedy later. Like I'll talk about it
Oh
forever,
yeah.
but like I have a distinct memory of there is like an pretty early. I want to say it's like first third of the game in Max Payne. I literally just replayed it, but you're running through like a rundown kind of like crack den, but it's not crack in the game. It's V, and you're like running through and there's like a bunch of the V heads and they're like mumbling to themselves. It's super creepy. And my dad's like running up these steps and he goes to run around a corner and he whips a grenade. And it was the first, I remember like it was the first time in video games I'd ever seen like actual physics or that
Yeah.
I could remember because he whips a grenade and the guy goes, "What the hell?" And then it dinks off his head and then like blew up. And my dad was so hyped on it. But yeah, like we beat Max Payne together. So he kind of switched to PlayStation when I don't want to say like that's where the more violent games were, but like I think that's kind of what it was. My
Dude,
dad was
like
like into shooters
GTA
and
was like right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like super into shooters and like played a lot of the military games. He was super into
SOCOM and
like
shit.
SOCOM, yeah, SOCOM, U.S. Navy SEALs. We played like Metal Gear Solid: Sons of Liberty together for some reason. Didn't play the other ones, just Sons of Liberty, and I barely like. I know that Metal Gear Solid's big,
Yeah.
and a lot of my friends are into it, but it was not a
Very
series I ever got super into. But I
sexually
played Sons of
charged
Liberty.
game though. Sons of Liberty, if I remember correctly, was a fairly like
I don't remember.
sexually charged game, and I
I
remember
just
playing it. I
remember
was
the
like, "Whoa,
first. I think it's like the first 2 hours of the game. You're on a ship, like
yes,
out in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, I remember doing that level with him.
that's dope,
So
dude."
yeah, I mean, like honestly, it was all my dad. My mom is not super into like nerd shit. Um, my mom really the only thing that like we like heavily share a common interest in is Twin Peaks. It was on
That's
TV.
sick.
My parents are pretty young. I guess that's kind of important. I think my mom and dad are both like between 50 and 53. I can't remember their exact age right
We're the
now.
same person. We're both children of divorce. My
Yeah.
parents are in their 50s.
Are you how old are you?
I'm 30.
Oh yeah, I'm 29.
That's fucked up,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
so
fucked
yeah,
up.
our parents are young. Like
Yes.
like compared to most people cuz I still like I'll say something and they'll be like, "How old are your parents?" And I'm like, "Oh, my mom's like 50." And they're like, "Holy shit." It's like,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah,
dude.
I guess she was like 20 when I was born."
Yeah.
Um but yeah, she got me into Twin Peaks and like X-Files. That was the
Yep.
other thing.
I watched X-Files
She's
with my
not
mom.
super into science fiction, but it was like primetime TV in the 90s, and that's what she was watching. And even though Twin Peaks turned out to be like the weirdest show in the world,
Yeah.
it made sense to her because it was soap opera, kind of whatever. Then you get to episode 3 and it's all fucked up. But
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah, she was like, yeah, super into it. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But yeah, so nerd shit, like all my dad. From there, like kind of found my way into the stuff he wasn't super into. My grandpa kind of helped with horror and science fiction. My grandpa's fairly young as well. He is not my dad's dad. My grandma had remarried like twice. She passed away when I was younger, like 12, from breast cancer. But my grandpa is like 65, 60, 65. He's pretty young.
Damn.
And my dad lived with my grandparents for a really long time, and I would always go over there, and my grandpa was always watching like sci-fi, or we on Saturday mornings we'd watch like the '90s X-Men cartoon.
That's sick.
We'd watch like the Spider-Man like he was pretty into superheroes and stuff. So I kind of like gravitated towards a lot of that nerd shit because of my grandpa. I have an alien background. Like my grandpa got me into a lot of the OG horror, Alien, Halloween, Evil Dead, Texas Chainsaw, Puppet Master.
Oh, dude,
Was
Puppet
super into
Master.
all,
Holy fuck.
dude. Crazy series, like 10
The
movies.
the latest was so sick though.
I haven't seen any of like the newer ones.
You need to. It gets
Yeah.
so off the wall. But yes, sorry.
No, you're good.
I
But
get
I mean,
so
yeah,
stoked.
like I definitely like the men in my family, my grandpa and my dad specifically were nerdy in their own aspects. So like that's kind of where it all came from.
That's so awesome because like for me, the only reason I am the way I am today is because of my mother's brother, my uncle Keith. My
Yeah.
father is straight off the boat from Romania. So like, and all my family came off the boat from Romania.
Oh, word. So you're like first generation then.
Yeah. So like
Word.
my first language was Romanian, then English, and so on and so forth. So like for them, it's you're not a man. You have all these things, these child things. But like
Yeah, yeah.
for like my uncle, he's like, bro, just like what you like. I played Doom on floppy and like Wolfenstein and
Oh,
all
hell
of
yeah.
that because of my uncle. I Max Payne is also Max Payne and Alice, American McGee's Alice,
Oh, yeah, dude. American McGee's Alice.
classic,
Sorry, I'm geeking. Yeah,
dude.
people do not talk about it enough. It's so good.
Dude, those are the two games. That and Resident Evil. So my uncle had a computer in my grandmother's basement because he was on tour all the time. My uncle would tour with Metallica, Marilyn Manson, all those
Okay, cool.
dudes doing
Like a
sound for them.
stagehand? Oh,
He
sound.
head
Okay,
of
cool.
sound on all those tours.
That's badass.
Dude, Robert Plant was at his house not too long ago, and I showed up and I'm like, "Oh, what's up?" And he's like, "Dude, that's Robert Plant." He's like, I'm like, "Wait, from Led Zeppelin?" He's like,
You're like,
"Yeah."
bro, you need to bow.
I was like, I gotta get the fuck. I was like, what the fuck is he doing in Dearborn, Michigan? But I digress. But yeah, my uncle's the one who got me into all that. I could still remember him booting up Max Payne and Alice and all this shit on his computer, and I was like, holy fuck! Like I remember playing Doom, and that was great, and made me the gamer I am today, like FPS and all this. But Max Payne and Alice for story, and Half Life for story is I was like, holy shit! Like this is like the entertainment I need. And I don't want to be a manly man. Like I'm not a manly man. Like I'm just
Yeah,
not. I'm
yeah.
a dork, dude. So like, it's really interesting to see like two sides of the same coin from both you and I. Like we
Yeah.
both each had that influential male or just person in our life who was just like, no, bro, it's cool. Just
Yeah.
this is what it's about right here. Just have fun. But
Yeah, I mean, I played my first computer game on my grandpa's computer. Like
yeah,
he was like kind of a tech guy,
yep,
which sort of led he didn't really play a lot of games, but like he would just buy them because a new GPU would come out. Like I like remember him installing like the Voodoo. Like he throws the
that is
Voodoo in like the
sick.
Windows 95 and he would just buy games to run it. Like he didn't really play the but I was there. So he'd be like, "Yo, I bought first game I ever played on PC, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2."
Fuck
Uh
me,
and
man.
he like pops it and he's just like, "I just want to see, I just want to see it do its thing."
Yeah,
And so and at the time, I mean, he's I don't know, like 40, 45 years old, so he's like still pretty young. And he was just like, "Yeah, just go at it. Like I just want to see like the PC do its thing because I built it, but I'm not really gonna play this." So like
yeah.
I played Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 on PC, Oddworld, Abe's
Oh
Odyssey,
my god, dude.
like one of my first like one of the first platformers I fell in love with. Like I had Mario, but I didn't really get into Mario until later. That was more my dad's thing.
Yep.
But something about Abe just being like weird as fuck, like I
Dark,
was
dude.
all in. Yeah, yeah.
Like I remember playing on the PS1, Abe's Odyssey on the
Hell yeah,
PS1, and then Abe's
yeah.
Exodus, and um, he took a Oddworld took a backseat to a lot of shit, and then you had
You
Munchies.
get like Munch, and
Yeah,
then you get Stranger's Wrath, which is
Stranger's
super
Wrath
cool.
was sick. The
Yeah,
latest Oddworld was great, but
I
again,
need to play it. I haven't played it yet.
I would. They've optimized it. There was a level. The further you get into it, it becomes impossible mode. You just like you can't do shit, and it just fucks you and fucks you. And then they patched it. And I need to go back. I also played
Yeah,
it when I had COVID. So like my brain was like melting, and I was like, "This is so sweet," but I feel like shit.
I'm
Um,
dying. Yeah.
but yeah, dude, Oddworld. I'm so happy you brought that up because that's another game that's just like I'm a weird fucking kid experiencing all this weird media that feels like it's made for me, and that's
Yeah.
the beauty behind video games. Like
And
yeah,
I'm stoked that because like it, I mean, Oddworld was like big at the time. It wasn't
yeah,
the biggest thing in the world, but like it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, am I the only one that played this?
yes, that's exactly how I felt about that.
Yeah.
Exactly how I felt about Oddworld. I felt that way about Half Life though when I was a kid, man. Like there's
Yeah.
no way other people know about this shit. But I was
Yeah. Yeah.
cocky though, right? I was like 10 years old. I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm Gordon Freeman. What of it? And everyone's like, what the fuck you talking about it?
Yeah.
And then like I look back and everyone's like, I was like, no, everybody played that. I'm just a
It
shithead.
was like one of the biggest games in the world at
It's
the
the
time, but
most revolutionary shooters ever made.
yeah.
So from all of this though, did video games influence your music? Because if you look at oh dude, I'm just gonna call him SB from
Yeah.
Espionage.
Hosian.
Hosian, yes.
Hmm.
They're heavily influenced by video games.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Like
just
you hear it.
you hear it, you see it, but that's who they are. For Ghost Key, because I do want to talk about Ghost Key, because again, I, I mean I'm not gonna be one of those guys like Ghost Key, right here, changed my life. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I've liked Ghost Key since you guys came to Michigan the first time. Meeting you, even though that was way back when, it was great. You awesome dudes, and now we're talking on a podcast. That's just the power of video games and music. Did anything in video games ever inspire anything for Ghost Key?
Not really. I would say like kind of buried that habit. Like it's always been there. I never like stopped playing games, but I went through high school. The only thing that was cool at my high school as far as like games went was there was a small group of people doing MLG for like Halo,
Right.
and I didn't give a shit about Halo. I know it was like the biggest thing at the time, but by that time I had built my first PC that was my own in my room.
Yep.
I wasn't really playing on a console anymore outside of like here and there. I'd go to my dad's on the weekends. My dad had like the PS2 and the PS3, which I eventually ended up with one, but I was playing on PC and I was mostly playing single player stuff. Like I wasn't a big multiplayer dude. I'm inherently not competitive. Like I just
Yeah.
really don't care about winning most things most of the time. So like everybody that was doing games at my high school, it was like, yeah, we're playing Halo on Xbox, and I was just like, nah, like that's I'm not a fan. So I didn't fit in with those kids, and I definitely didn't fit in with anybody else. And I slowly started to gravitate towards hardcore because my stepbrother took me to a few shows. One of the first shows I like remember it kind of clicking. I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, which is where Mudvayne is from.
Yep.
So like that, heavy music is like a big part of my I don't know, whatever, like 12 years old on.
Yeah.
It just being around in the town I was in, like knowing people that were going to shows and stuff. I wasn't super allowed to go. Like my mom was like not really stoked on the idea of like me going to see Mudvayne. But I didn't really fit in with like the gamers because it was just Halo. So my brother would like took me to a few shows at the Legion Hall, and I saw Bleeding Through, and then or I think it was Under Oath one night, and then the next night it was Bleeding Through,
That's sick. That's
and
really
it was
cool.
I was probably 14, like fresh into high school, maybe 15.
Right.
Uh, I thought Under Oath was the worst thing I'd ever heard because it was like old Under Oath, like messy, chaotic, all over
There's
the place.
noise.
Yeah. Now it's sick. Like now
Yeah.
Under Oath is up there for me, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me because I wasn't into metalcore. I pretty much was exclusively into like new metal. So then like the next night it's Bleeding Through. Bleeding Through makes sense to me because
Right.
it's just sort of an evolution of like what I've heard on the radio. I mean, because that's really everything I had heard was on the radio. It's like I'm listening to like Volume 3 by Slipknot. I'm listening to
Disturbed.
like yeah, like all that shit. And like some of those bands to this day, I mean Slipknot probably one of my favorite heavy bands of all time,
Oh
but
yeah.
Bleeding Through made sense to me. So I was like, all right, man, like fuck video games. I'm like still my thing, but I'll just bury it. I won't tell anybody like I'm a gamer because like this shit's gonna get me made fun of. Uh, and I started going to shows. I actually met my wife's sister at a show. And we like started hanging out. She would take me to shows, but like I didn't wear video game merch. I didn't tell people I was a gamer. I had like one or two friends that went to shows that also played games, but I definitely like buried it for the most part. I didn't want to be seen as like a nerd. I had like a lot of trouble fitting in junior high and high school, and so anything that was gonna get me called out as like being different than the people I was around was out of the question. Like
Wasn't
it was
gonna
not
happen.
gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I buried that shit honestly until I was like 22 or 23 years old.
Yep.
Like it took like a really long time for me to just be like, this sucks. Like this is dumb. And then like then I did, and of course it's like I was an idiot. I should have never done that. But
Well, dude, like
hindsight.
high school and like the scene in general back then, at least, because we're literally the same age pretty much. So like back then, it was like one of those things where it's like it wasn't dirty to be a gamer, man, but like to be that gamer in school and then to be the gamer at the show, you were just a dork.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
weren't the cool kid wearing a Doom shirt or an Alan Wake shirt. You were just uh, fuck that kid. We don't. You're not sitting with us. Why would you
Yeah.
sit with us? Like seats taken. So like
And I was like young too.
yeah
I mean, these are like I'm like 15, 16 years old,
yeah
and I'm going to like these shows where dudes who are like 20, 22, 23 are like beating the shit out of people
oh yeah.
my age
Where there's crews
because they're
literally
new.
roaming and there's crews
Yeah,
just going,
yeah.
especially like the back in the day, the straight edge crews. We had the
Oh man.
Courage crew in Michigan.
Courage,
Oh my
FSU.
god, fuck yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't too much in Peoria cuz like Peoria has always been a bit of a melting pot where like there weren't enough hardcore bands to just have a hardcore scene and there weren't enough metal bands to just have a metal scene. There
We
weren't
had a
enough
mix of
indie
both.
bands. So it was like a mix, but like I mean, on any given night there'd be like pop punk band and then like a straight edge band and
Yeah.
then like a southern metal band. And and it was cool cuz like I
Yeah.
got exposed to like a lot of different things that way, but yeah, it was like the straight edge band would play and like people would get the shit kicked out of them. And then like the pop punk band would play and like the younger people would be hyped and like all the older dudes would like cross their arms and look bummed on it. And then like the metal band would play and then it was like those dudes were all friends with each other, so it's like, oh, everybody came back out and started beating the shit out of each other again.
Yeah.
And it's like little 16, 17-year-old me is like, well, I want
Fuck
to fit in with
this.
these people. So like yeah, like I'll just wear my like Slipknot shirt or like my bleeding through shirt or whatever so that they don't think that I'm weird and hopefully I don't get the shit kicked out of me.
All right. Hey, technical difficulty right there. I had to get up and check on my son, make sure he wasn't strangling himself with a fucking blanket. So it's gonna be a weird cut in the video. The audio will be just fine. Um, but I know that feeling of like being that kid who just wanted to fit in and you
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
hide that part of you. And it sucked so fucking bad. And I don't want to say I was bitter when everybody was coming out of the woodwork. Does that make sense? Like everybody was like, I'm a gamer too,
Yeah.
and I like this too. And I'm like, then
I
why
mean,
were you dogging on me? Like,
I think like you know, as much as like hardcore is supposed to be like for the weirdos and like for, for the people that didn't fit in, like those subcultures are weird. Like all subcultures are weird.
yeah,
And there's always gatekeeping, even in like the smallest subculture. And like I gotta be honest, I think it's a lot better nowadays. Like I it seems way more diverse, like way more willing to embrace like the actual weirdos.
yes,
But it was weird to sort of see a lot of people all at once simultaneously realize that we were just like burying parts of ourselves to like maintain this weird image.
tough guy image is what it was back in the day.
Yeah, it's just I don't know why we did it. I mean I do, but it's
Young
just like
dude, I just wanted to fit
yeah,
in.
yeah, it's so weird cuz like yeah, like now everyone's like, yeah, I'm a fucking like weirdo. Like yeah, we all play D&D now and like all this shit and nobody had any idea. It's like, man, what if we would have just all like decided to tell each other at the same time from the get-go, like, hey, like all this shit's cool, like don't worry about it.
People would have a lot more fucking friends.
Yeah,
That's like where
yeah,
that would
yeah,
go. People would have a lot more fucking friends.
yeah.
And
I'm
like
glad
it's
it's cool now. Like I'm glad it's over with and we're about it now. But
oh yeah.
it's weird.
But it's not to say that gaming itself doesn't have its issues within its own culture or subculture.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it does. There's toxicity, but racism, sexism, abuse. There's a magnitude of bullshit that comes with gaming as well. Much like hardcore, where you have these sets of people who are doing terrible shit that aren't getting called out for it, then get called out, and then this and that. We're not going to go too deep into that, but in gaming, there's problems too. And let's just talk a little bit about what you actually do in the industry. I
Mhm.
think that is important for people to know a little bit what you actually do. Then I will continue on with the point I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like I said, I work at Raven Software, a AAA video game developer. We currently work on Call of Duty, but we've worked on a bunch of games that you've probably played, to be honest.
Right.
Some games that like I didn't even realize I had played until I started working there, and I was like, no way, we worked on that.
You guys worked on a
But
Half-Life game, I believe, at one point. I think Raven did.
I'm gonna ask somebody about that because that one I don't know. But Soldier of Fortune is like a one kind of a niche title that like some people know.
Oh yeah.
Sick game. I got it
Dismemberment
from
in
a
that
Big
game,
Lots.
insane.
Yeah, yeah. I got it from a Big Lots. If you don't know what Big Lots is, like if you're listening to this, you're like, what the fuck is that? It's like a step above Dollar General. Um, you just go there and everything is cheap and like
Or
yeah,
bootleg.
it's weird.
It's
Yeah, or bootleg.
It's so sweet.
And I remember like Soldier of Fortune 2, the box, like sick big fat PC box like they were.
Buff dude on the
It's
front.
like $5, and I was like, oh, I mean, I like shooters, whatever, and I bought it, and I like got it home, and I could have been, I don't know, maybe 14, something like that. I just remember like shooting dudes and like yeah, like limbs blowing off and
Yeah,
stuff,
dude.
and I was like, I had never seen that in a game, so I was like, holy shit. And I didn't know that was us until I like started working there. But I had played that, forever ago. Worked on like a couple Star Wars games that a lot of people have played. We worked on the Wolverine game, which I think is one of the dopest superhero games of all
Fuck
time.
yeah, dude.
It's the only superhero game that is like what would actually happen if a superhero whooped ass, because like
Yes.
it's wicked. I mean, like Wolverine especially, right? You always get these like depictions of him where he's like slicing people, but there's no blood, and it's like, bro has adamantium in his skeleton, and
Oh, it's
it is
ripping
literally
through your
like
flesh, dude.
you would be dead. Yeah, like I mean, like we got the Old Man Logan movie. That's like the only time you've ever seen him be that violent, other than the Wolverine game, where you are straight like ripping through people, putting your claws through their face. It's dope. Great game if you haven't played it. We made that. But yeah, now we do Call of Duty, which is, I mean, huge. Obviously, it's like one of the, if not the biggest title in all of video games.
Yep.
And I'm a community manager, so I primarily work on Warzone. I'm technically a community manager for Raven Software, but given that our main focus is Warzone, that's 99% of my day to day. Community manager is a sort of all-encompassing job. It's a little bit of social media. It's a little bit of moderation. It's a little bit of copywriting. I do writing here and there for different things like patch notes. It sort of just changes day to day. It's like it's a really tough job to explain to people because like a lot of people think it's just social media or it's like just moderation or what, but it's like anything that community touches, anything that is player facing in any way, like it comes across my desk in one way or another, whether I worked on it or like approved it or had a discussion about it. So I do a lot of different things every day, which is really cool. It's like literally every day I log in, I could do something completely different, which is super entertaining. And like as somebody who's kind of scatterbrained and like a little chaotic, it works to my strengths because it's not like just the same monotonous thing every single day. It changes minute to minute, so my brain is like always just firing on all cylinders.
So it's literally never dull. You're always trying to do a new challenge or
Yeah,
get
yeah.
over a new challenge.
There's always a problem to solve. Like there's always a wall to climb. It doesn't matter. Yeah, like you said, the challenge. There's always like a new challenge every day. Um, it also can be like extremely difficult because it is player facing a lot of the time. You'll see across our industry like community managers usually are really public. That's like you'll see like Destiny 2. You can find the community manager for Destiny 2 posting about Destiny.
Right.
We don't do that as much. Mostly because I think that that's a thing that's sort of like we're trending away from in the industry, and that we should trend away from, because I think like I've had my Twitter account for I don't know, like a decade.
Yeah.
I don't want my Twitter account to be like the Call of Duty Twitter account, if that makes sense.
You have to have a
Like,
separation
I'm
of
me.
you and work.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm me. I'm not just Call of Duty guy. So like I you know, from time to time I tweet about something because I'll be stoked. Like an update will drop, or like I'll be hyped on a play that I got, or whatever. Or just interact with the community here and there because I see something cool. But it's something that I think we're trending away from in our industry because people really value like work life balance. And I don't want to be Call of Duty 24/7, especially because I've had that Twitter account for a decade. Like my friends follow me and stuff. Like they don't give a shit.
They don't want
Some
to
of
see
them
that.
do.
Yeah.
Trust me, some of them message me every day and they're like, "Hey, bro, Call of Duty, Call of Duty." But most of my friends are like, they just want to know what Austin's doing. You know, what's Austin working on this week? Is he putting out new music, or is he skating this week and he's got some clips he want? You know, it's like, so I don't really post on my personal account a lot, but I get hyped about Call of Duty on there every once in a while. So there's definitely like a separation where Raven Software does all of the stuff now.
Yeah.
And it's really healthy because it can be a really taxing job. People still will seek me out on the internet and like try to blame me for whatever issue they're having. You know, they don't like a gun the way that it is, or they don't like a certain challenge, or what, like literally anything you can think of. Somebody's like found me, and I keep my messages on request, so like people don't know if I've seen the message or not.
Yeah.
I allow DMs because some people have something they want to share with me that I think is dope, or that maybe I should know about, and I want to respond to them. I don't want to like cut people off because like I love people and I love communication. Obviously, I wouldn't like come on a podcast if I didn't just love like shooting the shit.
Yeah.
So I never want to like cut myself off from somebody, but it does give me sort of like a level of protection where I can like read it. And if it's just like overly toxic, you know, people are weird. They'll like, I've had people send me death threats. Then it's just like, oh, they'll never know I read this. I'll just like delete that shit and move on.
Right.
And not to say that it's still not taxing to like get that from strangers, but it does like offer me a level of protection, which is really nice.
Right.
Yeah, it's taxing, man. It's a hard job. I love it. I love it so much, but it can be really difficult.
That's when we were talking about hardcore metal and then going into the community of gaming and how it can be toxic, it can be taxing. These gamers can be very opinionated. They could be very volatile, right? But
People in the industry call it passionate.
passionate,
In quotes.
passionate. So people can
Passionate
be
in
very
quotes.
passionate, and I think a lot of people lose sight of you are a human.
Yeah, yeah.
You're all humans working on
Definitely.
something that we all love, we all want. I wish people understood that, but they don't. So how do you overcome that as like someone who's working in the industry?
Yeah, yeah. Some days I don't. like just being, you know, frank and honest is like some days I do not.
Right.
Kid good?
Yeah, just double check.
I saw the headphone. I saw what we were doing. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just making sure. Yeah, yeah. Some days I don't. Like some days it honestly can be a little soul crushing, because it's like, damn, I really just want people to understand that like I'm just a dude and I'm doing my best, and like you may not think it's enough. Like you may have an opinion about the way I do or don't do my job. and like, I'm not gonna tell you can't have an opinion, but yeah, to like come at humans is like super weird, and like just like scream at them and shout at them, because I think the thing, like even the worst game in the world, like whatever that game is, because like if I say that, there's like a game that might come to mind for somebody,
Right.
whatever that is for you, like somebody still worked really hard on it. Like
Exactly.
even if it's like it wasn't their dream project, most people don't, especially in an industry like games where like you don't get paid super well. Like just to be honest, most people, you could go into any other form of software development and make exponentially more than you could making games. It's not as cool, it doesn't fulfill that sort of artistic value that most people have, and that's why people stick around.
Right.
People will take pay cuts, or they won't move out of the industry because they love that part of it. Those people don't want to make something bad. Nobody shows up and is just like, yeah, I'm gonna show up today and just make total shit.
Right. Exactly.
Because if they were gonna do that, they would just go to the software. Like they would just go to an industry that pays them more money. If
To
they
make
like
shit.
truly didn't give a shit about their job, they would just go somewhere that pays them more. Because then they could not give a shit and get paid good money, which would
Exactly.
be sick. So yeah, it's always like, and I know that like some people don't care. They're just like, I don't care. I just want to scream at somebody. That's just the internet. Like some people
Just
are
an
just
echo
looking for
chamber,
something
man.
to
It's
shout
fucked.
at. Yeah. Um, but most days I am able to mostly brush it off. Like I'm just like, man, that's whack, whatever. But like I also get to remember that I'm in a position that a lot of people would like truly fight tooth and nail for, and
Absolutely.
I get to affect like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on a daily basis. Like people just get to log in and like play. And because there's always like people who they don't read anything. They don't give a shit about social media. They don't read patch notes. They
Yeah.
don't know that this gun got changed or this thing did that or what. Like they literally just, like my little brother all the time. He's like, I don't even know you changed anything. He just logs in and plays. And it's really easy to forget that that person exists. And that person is they're just stoked to have a thing to play. They
Exactly.
just log in, play, smile on their face, log out. They'll play tomorrow, and I that helps. Like I remind myself, I'm like, damn, that person just logs in every day, has a good ass time, and then like they're just gonna do the same thing tomorrow, and that's sick.
Well, that's what gaming used to be. Like, it still is that, right? Like, there is still, I would say, majority of players still just play games online, single player, whatever, MMO,
Yeah.
just because it's like, hey, man, this is just what I love. This is what I'm doing. This is who I am, and I'm stoked. Yes, there's rough times in every game. Let's not pretend that most games that come out nowadays, especially with the current state of the industry, buyouts and mergers and people
Bro,
getting
shit is
losing their
crazy
job, like
right now.
games are delayed. There is issues. Games are getting pushed out before they're ready to come out of the oven. Let's not pretend, but still, man, like just like loading up for me, man, just like loading something up and playing it, even if it's fucked right from the get go, I will always in my head go, it might be fucked, but I guarantee I'll find some sort of way to have fun with this. I
Dude,
never
I
contact
am
somebody and
like
go,
that
fuck
about
you.
everything.
Right.
And not even like I don't tell myself I need to be that way. I don't know what it is. All my friends know me as just the dude that likes everything. I will play like something that by all accounts people's is like, this game is dog shit, and I'll be like, man, I had a really good time with this. Like I'll see a movie that everyone's like, that movie was dog shit, and I'll be like,
Morbius.
I actually didn't see that, not because everyone talks shit, I just like kind of missed it, but I guarantee you I watched that movie, I'm like, it's fine.
I'm gonna
Like
incriminate myself.
I'll smile a couple times.
it's on Twitch. All right. There's
Oh yeah,
there's
I
dudes.
saw that it's people been like looping it for, because
So
it's like a
like
meme now.
yeah, so I watched it and I'm like, okay, it's not great, but Jared Leto is Michael Morbius, kind of sick, and this movie's not
I
that bad.
hate
I'm
I
just that
hate
guy.
Jared
Oh, he's a
Leto's
douche.
acting,
I heard he's a
but
douche.
like, yeah, I'm kind of weirded out by like the whole like cult thing
Cult thing
with
on his little island thing. Yeah.
yeah, that's like kind of weird. I'm not really down with that.
No. No.
But when they cast him, I was like, you know what? For all the terrible castings I feel like he's been in, I kind of I
Yep.
kind of get it for
And then
Michael
this
Morbius.
fucking
It makes a little
blew.
bit of sense. And then it was like everyone was like, "Oh, it's the worst movie ever made," and I was like,
Got a sequel.
"Look, man, I watched Rubber, and I love that movie.
Rubber was sick. Okay, that
But
tire
that movie is bad.
is bad,
It's
but it's not The
awesome.
Room bad.
Yeah, dude, I've seen The Room more than any other bad movie ever.
I met
And you know
Tommy.
what? I
He's
enjoy that
great,
shit. Me too. Me
dude.
too. I
He's
got a signed The Room Blu-ray behind me.
yep.
Tommy asked what my name was. He was like, "What do you?" I can't do his weird ass. He says he's from North Carolina.
No, he's
He's
from
not
fucking
from North
Poland,
Carolina.
dude. He's from Poland.
Yeah. He's like, "What do you want me to write on it?" And I'm like, you just like write my name and like to Austin from Tommy or something." And he was like, "Okay." And he asked me how to spell my name. I spelled it out to him. He wrote on the disc, "Love Tommy." That's it. Not my name, not to me. I specifically spelled out every letter. And he looked like he was writing it. He hands it to me. It just says, "Love Tommy." And he goes, "Ha ha, have a good night."
Dude,
I was just like, holy shit.
he played at
So
the
awesome.
The Room played at the Royal Oak not Royal Oak movie theater over here in Michigan, and we were just chilling, and we went, me and my buddies, and I was walking through the lobby, and it's just this small dude. He's not that big. He's really not
Yeah, he
that
weighs
big.
like 90 pounds wet.
Small fucking guy with like 1,000 belts on.
Dude, yes, he had like 4 belts on. I don't know why.
Dude, I was like,
Was he wearing sunglasses
yes,
at night?
dude,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
like because
Yeah.
he like flipped him up. He looked like he looked like Morbius. Motherfucker looked like Morbius. I'm like, Tommy? He's like, ha ha ha, yes, yes.
It's
And
me. Dude, he's literally the coolest character ever.
dude, but he's embraced it. Anyways, back to video games. Well,
I'm literally looking. I have a bobblehead that's sitting over
yeah,
here, also signed by him.
so sick. I bought the
Yeah, it's
underwear.
sick.
I was really drunk.
Dude, the underwear are
It
crazy.
didn't fit. I bought like the banana hammock ones,
Yes.
and I put them on. I
Yeah.
came home, and my wife was like, "You're a fucking moron. That looks terrible on you." Cause like I'm a chubby guy, so it like muffin topped the shit out of me. She's like, I like that you're chubby, Zach Galifianakis, kinda, but like that looks bad. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go change. She's like, how much were those? I'm like, $40. She's like, dumbass, get out my fucking face. I was
So
like,
sick.
this sucks, dude. But anyways, fuck, dude. Tommy Wiseau's he's it's perfect to be sidetracked by that man. So
Yeah.
speaking a little bit more on the industry and your job specifically, what led you to want to get into the industry and take this job? And then from there, we'll just talk about the industry to really wrap the episode up, and we'll just put a bow on it right there.
Yeah.
But what led you to this job, and where do you also like where do you see yourself in the industry down the road? Because community manager is a big position, but do you have aspirations for anything else within the industry?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I didn't know that I was gonna work on games. I mean, like every kid that plays games is like, "Oh, I want to work on video games someday." But like generally, that's I want to quote unquote make games. That's like what most kids say, and that's sort of a general idea of like programming or art or
Yeah.
whatever. I never thought I didn't even really think about like the communications side of games until like 2013, 2014. And I mean, to be fair, it's more of a modern position. You know, when we were kids, like there wasn't social media really. There wasn't community managers. Like press releases pretty much exclusively happened in magazines.
Right.
So like companies had PR people, but it was like a lot of times it was like a third party or it's just one guy. It wasn't a department. You know, it's like one guy sending press releases to like IGN and PC Gamer and GameSpot and like all of those people. But like, yeah, there wasn't a communications department. So it was never an aspiration as a kid. It was more of just like I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Games are cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't take it seriously at all until like 2015. I was touring. We toured like pretty much full time from like 2013 to probably 2018, 2019. shout out pandemic, but also just like being a band is really hard.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah. So we were on tour. I had met a guy named Chris, who at the time was working on a game called Paragon, that's now shut down. Was the first multiplayer game that I ever like truly fell in love with and played a bunch. It was for people that don't know, it was Epic's game before Fortnite,
Yeah.
like literally exactly before Fortnite, and then Fortnite came out right after. It was a 3D MOBA. I don't like MOBAs. I played Heroes of New Earth, which is kind of vintage. For the League of Legends fans, like it was, which one's gonna win, Heroes or League of
Yeah.
Legends? And then League obviously won. Heroes just shut down recently. I played Heroes a little bit. I played League very briefly, but didn't really care about MOBAs. And then I played Paragon because it was in beta. It was like free on PC, and it was like, holy shit, I love third person shooters. And then it mixes this kind of cool strategy thing. It's because I just don't like League and stuff because I don't like that style of game, like top down,
My
clicking
attention span won't
everywhere.
work that way.
Yeah, it's just not for me. But it's like, oh, you take 3D or third person shooter mechanics. That's way more interesting. And so I got super into Paragon. I like tweeted about it. I think from the band account, because I used to just tweet. I mean, I still tweet dumb shit from there, but like I think I just tweeted like, if anybody wants to play Paragon, we should do that. Because like our whole thing when we were touring all the time was, who gives a shit about being like professional? We really just want to be friends with people, because
Yeah.
like music was never supposed to be our full-time job. And I mean, it wasn't. We didn't get paid, but it was never intended to be more than just like we were playing local shows. So we didn't really give a shit about being professional. And we were just like, yeah, who wants to be friends? So we were like, yo, here's our Paragon usernames if anybody plays this game. And their community manager was a dude that played in a band that was on Face Down Records. And we had played a show with them. They were called Atlas. They were like a rock band. And he like tweeted at our band account and was like, yo, you guys play this game? And I was like, yeah, it's sick. And he was like, DM me. And I DM'd him, and we started talking back and forth. And he's like, yeah, like I'm a community manager on this. We've played a show together before. If you guys ever want to play, like hit me up. And then I can't remember exactly how it happened, but at the time we were managed by my friend Taylor, who played in the metalcore band Beartooth. He doesn't now, but he did at the time. And we had done a tour with them. And Chris reached out to him and was like, yo, you and Austin should fly down to Epic. Like all inclusive, we'll pay for your flights. Just like come down, hang out for the day. We did like, it was like they did like a weekly update episodes. So it was just like a video. They'd sit down, talk about like what was in the patch that week. And then they would sometimes have guests, never music dudes. And that was his whole thing was, we're going to try this. We normally have like guests from gaming come down, esports people and stuff like that. He was like, but this is my world. I'm from music. So I'm going to have these guys come down. And we flew
sick.
down. Coolest shit I've ever done in my life. Like, I get on I mean, I'm like this. I lived in Chicago at the time, but I'm just like this kid from the Midwest. Never done anything outside of touring that was like even remotely cool. And I'm like getting on a free flight to Epic Games. It's like, I know what Epic Games is, It's like,
Yeah.
this is Gears of War Epic Games. Like, I'm freaking out. We get down there, super, like one of the dopest days I've ever had. And at the end of the day, he was like taking us on a final walkthrough of the building, because I mean, we got to see like everything at Epic.
That's so
and
fucking cool.
yeah, so sick, dude. Like seriously life changing for more than one reason. And he and I are having a conversation while my friend Taylor, because Epic did Robo Recall for Oculus, and they had like a little VR test station, because it was like VR was still kind of new, and like the Oculus had just come out, so they had like a little VR test station. And Taylor is doing the Oculus trial, which he later got really sick from because he didn't know he was going to get motion sick from. But we were standing there talking, and he was just like, do you think you're gonna tour forever? And Chris from Epic, and I was like, I don't know, like that's a weird question. And he was like, I just don't. He's like, I'm gonna be honest, I just don't see it. And I was like,
Damn, dude.
am I getting called out right now? He was, and like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, do you just like my band sucks or
Yeah,
like
what are you
what's going
saying,
on?
bro?
And he was just like, no, I just don't think that's what you're supposed to do. And I was like,
Damn.
damn.
Yeah.
And he's just like this like seriously the nicest dude in the world, biggest smile on his face. And this is a dude that I had known, I don't know, like a month, 2 months, and we'd had conversations. And like, I mean, I'll call anyone a friend after honestly like a conversation. So like, I consider us friends at this point.
Yeah.
And he said that, and it just like hit me
That's
like
gnarly, dude.
straight to the core. And I kind of buried it, thought about it for years, and then 2019 happened. We were like exhausted. We were broke.
Yeah.
I mean, like if anybody knows what playing music is like, it's a fucking journey and it is exhausting. And
It
we were
sucks.
just,
It's
yeah,
fun,
dude,
but it sucks.
we were tapped out. Like most people's bank accounts are like floating at 0.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been 7, 8 years, 2 record labels, 2 full length records. And I mean, there I could get into it, but like we just felt like the music industry was fucked, and it is. Like
It's
it
one of the
really
most
is.
heartbreaking things you'll ever realize. You start a
Yeah,
band, you go play music, but then you realize your music that you're creating, everyone is enjoying, but they don't enjoy. So therefore, politics plays in. You go on
yeah,
tour, you meet more politics, you get fucked, and you're supposed to take it and smile because it's not
yeah.
about the money. Which is not
I
about the
hate the
money.
music industry.
It's
I think
it sucks. It's terrible.
it's honestly like after being in the games industry for like 2.5, almost 3 years, I can confidently say that the music industry is way more toxic.
Oh yeah.
I think because it's smaller, and so the toxicity is more tight knit. Like it's way easier for because
I was
the
gonna say
games industry is small.
people have a grip on it too.
Yeah,
And
the
yeah.
games industry is small, and like everybody knows everybody. But like in music, it's so small that it's really easy to keep people out, and it's just toxic, and I hate it. And I'm super glad I'm done with it because like now I just play music for fun, and that's the dopest way
Yeah.
to do it. But yeah, 2019, we're burned out, we're done, we're over it, and I was like, man, I I guess I get a real job now. Like I don't know what to do. And my friend Chris, who I'd played shows with, he plays in like a super cool band. He he worked at a small studio in Chicago called Phosphor. They had a couple of hits with some like early VR titles. Um, it's like a 30-person studio, still indie, not owned by anybody. And he knew that I wasn't touring all the time, and he was just like, "Hey, man, if you're like interested, you can apply. Maybe I can get you a QA gig because like there's only 2 people right now. We're maybe looking to get like 2 more people." And I was like, "Ah, fuck it, might as well shoot my shot." Applied January 2020. I get the job. It's my first game job ever. I'm working QA in an indie studio that, as much as I love working there, it's like falling apart.
Yeah.
Like financially, I mean, an indie studio is you're doing the same thing a small band is. It doesn't matter if you've been successful. Like every day is a struggle because you're trying to survive in an industry that is just not friendly for small studios. And so like they're struggling financially, which I could kind of tell, but I'm just like kind of burying that fear. It's like this is my first job. I'm just happy to be here. Pandemic happens, I get sent home, and we're work from home for like 3 weeks, laid off. And I was like, damn, that's it.
That
I worked on
sucks.
games for 3 months. I'm out. Like, no more industry job. It's just over with. And I didn't have a job for like 2 months. I applied everywhere, and I found Raven just like through a Google search, and I was like, yeah, it's just over the border in Wisconsin. I lived in Chicago, it was like 2 hours away, and I figured, fuck it, why not? Might as well try. Got an interview, got the job,
That's
got my
dope.
foot in the door. And then the communications position opened up, and I thought about all that shit that Chris told me. It was just like, because basically what he told me at the time was you should be a community manager because you're already doing that. Like that's what you're doing. You're on
For
social
your
media. You're
band.
connecting with these people. You're giving them a reason to give a shit about what you're doing. You just got, you just move that to video games. And so I put all that shit on a resume and I applied internally and I got to be honest, it's a lot of it is luck. Like it was definitely like we'll take a chance on you because you're already here and we'll see how it goes. And like I'm not fired yet, so like I'm doing pretty good. like like I still have a job. It's been
Right.
over a year and I've learned a lot. Still there's always something else to learn, but I mean getting into the industry is tough. I I'm never one of those people that's like I worked really hard because I don't believe in that. Like
No.
I believe that hard work matters,
Yeah.
but I don't believe that anybody just does anything on their own. Like I just think that's bullshit and that's like something that is told to people to like I
To
don't know.
push you, I
You create this
guess.
like fantasy in your
Yeah.
head that like I just have to work harder and I'll get there. And it's like no, you work hard and then eventually, hopefully, you get an opportunity to show.
Somebody will see you and go, "You belong with us."
Hopefully. Right. You
Right.
get lucky and the right person sees that hard work and they're like, all right, I'll give you a shot.
So would you
But like,
recommend it then? Would you recommend
I
to
mean,
somebody out there listening right now whose dream was your dream?
yes and no,
Essentially.
honestly. Like it it's tough, right? Cuz like you see all these stories. Everywhere you go, you're reminded that like the games industry is super toxic, especially for like marginalized people. Like if you're a woman, you're fucking terrified. You see
Yeah.
like all this stuff going on, and you're just like, oh my god, like that's why would I ever want to work there? Or you're a person of color, and you're like, what the fuck? Like that place is not for me.
Right.
But if you're willing to take a chance and try to find somewhere that will actually treat you the way that you deserve to be treated, I think especially those people should get in because like that's how you make it better. Like I'm not saying the burden is on women or on people of color to make the industry better, but like when it's a bunch of white dudes who like
Right.
run everything, of fucking course it caters to like a bunch of white like rich white dudes. So,
Right.
you get those people in the door and then like they can like they're like, "Yo, we're fucking here and we're going to do something." So
We're gonna
like
change this shit.
if you're like dead ass passionate about getting in and like making the industry as a whole a better place and also making cool shit, then like hell yeah. But also, I would never ever put that burden on anyone because that's a lot to take on. Like
Right.
some people just want to go to work and do their job, and I respect that because some days I just want to go to work and do my job. But yeah, I think like the industry has a lot of growing up to do. It's still very young too. Like I think people forget that it's the youngest entertainment industry by a mile. That it's got a lot of growing up to do, but it needs the right people to like cultivate that change and that growth and people speaking up and speaking out and like doing the right thing. And it's getting there. Like I see
Growing
it every
pains.
day. Yeah, yeah. And I see it every day, and it's like it gets better and better. But if changing an industry for the better is something you're passionate about while also making cool shit, then like, yeah, definitely.
This is
But if
you.
you just want to go to work every day, then like, it might be really fucking hard to do that, to be honest.
Right. Now, speaking on the industry still, because you're not at work, we're not gonna make you feel like you're at work. But
Right. Yeah.
what we're gonna do is, if you're cool with it, talking about the industry to wrap up the show. To me, what I'm seeing right now with the industry is a trend of delays, like I've said, which, in my opinion, a delay. All right, take it easy, Peach.
Dude, that was such a good cat.
That she is huge, dude. She
I
is
saw her
huge.
walking around. I was like, damn, that's a good cat.
She's
That's a nice
thick.
cat.
Um, there's delays, which again, for me personally, I'd rather a game be delayed than rushed. And people
Yeah.
need to understand that a delay is not necessarily it can be bad, but it's not. It
I believe
usually
it's
means it's a good thing.
am I right? Shigeru Miyamoto?
Yes. With Zelda?
Well, he says that a delayed game can eventually be great, but a Rush game will never be good.
Yes.
Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but it's something to that effect.
Which she's absolutely correct in. I don't know what that cat's about to do. It could be a nightmare behind me in a second. She's 17 pounds, so she's fucked up. But
Dude, she's carrying it around.
she's doing her thing. But with delays and these acquisitions from Microsoft and Sony and all this, I'm seeing not only that, but with AAA itself. Indie, when you look at indie, these motherfuckers are pumping shit out. And they're not pumping shit out. It's good quality games. We're seeing the indie studios rise to the top. In my opinion, they have to, in lieu of a lot of AAA studios really dropping the ball.
I'll share when you're done with your thought. I have a theory on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think that the indie studios really have to rise in lieu of what the AAA studios are doing, and I'm totally curious what you have to say right now.
So my theory on indie studios, obviously there's for every like one big hit, there's like a million games that don't do well from indie studios.
Correct.
Like my most recent that comes to mind that's like a banger right now, V Rising.
Yep.
It's like the indie darling. Vampire crafting survival open
Vampire
world,
Diablo.
Yeah, like with crafting and survival, it's fucking wild. Great game. I've been playing it a bunch. But I think the reason that indie games that do hit like super polished and they blow up because they're so polished, AAA games have they've convinced themselves they have to market for 2 years before something comes out. And I always think back to Fallout 4. I think it was Fallout 4, where it was like announced in November or something, and it came out like 6 months later. Like
was that Fallout 4?
It might have been like it was a Bethesda title.
Yeah.
I can't remember specifically which one, but I remember it was like it wasn't November. It was announced in the summer at E3, and then like 4 or 5 months later, it came out in like November.
It may have been Fallout 4 or 76.
And like maybe Bethesda isn't the best example because like their games are so huge. Everyone's always like, oh, they have so many bugs. It's like, well, those games are incomprehensibly large.
Yes.
Like I'm not a shill for Bethesda, but like as somebody who has worked on games, like I will defend them a little bit. Just a little, not a lot. There are some inexcusable
Todd
things.
Howard, we love you. I love you, but at the same time,
yeah, like, but like, that's I think what we should be doing, and that's what indie games do.
Yeah,
indie games are like, I'm gonna work on this shit quietly for like 6 years, and then when I'm about ready to come out, like 3-month cycle. Like I'm gonna announce that shit not always. Like there are some indie games. Like there's a cool trend where they'll like tweet about the game forever. Like they'll just like constantly update it.
Yeah.
But there's no like big marketing push. It's just like a guy's Twitter account who's like, oh, this week I'm like implementing AI or whatever. And that's super cool too for like the really nerdy people. But I mean, yeah, like V Rising, it got announced like 2 years ago, kind of, but not. There wasn't like a big marketing push. It was just like, yeah, this thing exists. And then when it does come out, you know, there was never like a we're delaying because they never said when it was coming out.
Exactly.
They were just like, this thing exists and it'll be out when we're ready.
See you when we see you.
Yeah, and then when it's ready, it's in early access and it's like the most polished game I've ever played.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's insane. So like I would love to see the trend be like we just announce shit when it's ready instead of Cyberpunk saying 7 years ago that it's coming soon. And it's like, dude, nobody needs that. Like it's just not necessary.
That community pushed and pushed and pushed, though. That with Cyberpunk, the problem is, I see the problem being the community, and I see the problem being the people at the top. Because the community, here's the release date. Okay, guys, listen, it's fucked. We can't put it out. Promise us you want us to work on it. Okay, cool. Let's push it back. All right, here's the next release date. They shot themselves in the foot. Oh, they just release date after release date after release date, and then so people are pissed, right? And then the people at the top, the investors and everyone up at the top's like, you have to put something out, something so fucked that Sony will take you off the store.
Yeah, yeah. As somebody who is not an executive and I don't make millions of dollars a year, so I can say this. I I think the worst thing that ever happened to like probably companies, but like video games specifically, is companies being public and being beholden to shareholders.
Yes.
I recognize that games cost money and they cost like at this point like millions and millions and millions of dollars, but I'm not responsible for solving that problem. So I can just say that I think money in general is like the worst thing to ever happen to art, but like specifically being beholden to like a group of people who don't care or understand the art of video games
No.
and like they're just expecting a payout. I think that's the worst thing that's ever happened to games. But I don't make money decisions, so I can say that because I don't have to solve the money problem.
I
Like
am
I,
so
I
not
just
trying to get you in trouble on this podcast with your job.
I mean, I think most people feel
Most
that
people
way.
agree with
Like,
that, dude. Because you got
yeah,
these
yeah,
fat old white dudes at the top going, product. Where is product? Where is product? Right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, no,
And of
we
course
need
they
to
feel that
make.
way. Like
Well, yeah,
that's.
but it's so fucked.
I'm not justifying it,
No,
but like
no, of course
if
not.
that's the reason you invest in a company is to make money, then like yeah, you're like give me the money.
Well, how evident
Um,
to me is it not only in their games, right? But then you look at a lot of these companies' merchandise for said games. Like obviously, like for me, like Remedy and shit like that, great merchandise, great shit. But like a lot
if
of
you're an audio listener, you have no idea the fancy moves I just pulled.
it was hot,
I'm wearing an Alan Wake shirt, and I have 3 Remedy posters in the
which
background.
are so beautifully spaced perfectly too, from what I can see on my end.
I measured them.
You're like,
I
I did
measured them.
this.
So the initial plan was this makes no sense for people who are listening, but I have a bunch of other stuff to add.
Yeah.
So the stuff, these little ones in between, are supposed to connect the posters. So this is an Alan Wake poster. In between
Control.
is a photo of Alan's face and then a photo of the cabin, which directly relates to Control because they take place in the same universe. And then I have an Alex Casey document from Control, who is Alex Casey is Max Payne when Alan Wake writes the book. So I was going to put that in between these two.
That's
But now I'm
sick.
moving, so that project is
That's
on
done.
hold.
You can save it for the next house.
Exactly, yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm kind of this is like all my nerd shit about Remedy. It's like it's too much.
I'm a shill for Valve. I don't say
I
it
get it.
proudly. I don't say it proudly because they're on my shit list with everything that they do. But what I was saying though is it's never more evident that the people who should be pushing aren't able to push. Because with video game merchandise back in the early 2000s, the 90s, shit was fucking insane.
Oh
Every
yeah.
special edition you got, and the special edition had a special edition, and it wasn't $1,000. Just like the shirts were sick, and you don't see it anymore. And then people bitch about bootleggers. They
It
bitch
is
about
weird to
it's
me. Do
weird.
you notice how like bootleggers put out sick merch, right? Like
Yep.
that's like why that stuff sells as well it does. It's so weird to me when there are people at companies who like their whole thing is like they just want to make money. What are you doing?
Make
Put
some
out
sick
sick
merch.
merch.
Make merch, man.
People want your logo on a shirt. What
Yep.
are you doing?
Right now,
I've
big
never
boxes.
understood that.
Make big boxes. You don't have to have a disc in it.
Yeah.
Just put fucking codes in.
Bro, that I have never in my life wanted more than for companies to go back to at least putting out a limited edition like PC big box.
Yep.
PC gets screwed so hard on like special editions and it like even if it isn't physical and you don't put out an actual disc like you're saying cuz like I have Remedy the Quantum Break Timeless edition which is it was
So
their like
fucking
little
cool.
special edition.
Yep.
Games on discs, I get it, man. There's like 9 CDs in there
Yep.
or 9 DVDs because like games are so big now.
Half-Life
So
shit
like
I got back there had a bunch of discs too.
yeah, yeah. So like I get it if you don't want to put it on physical media, but like I mean, even in like 2010, 2011 when they were starting to get too big, you just use the disc as like a validator. I just
Yep.
want it because it looks cool, man.
Drop a
Just give
fucking
it to
piece
me.
of paper in there, bro. Give
Yeah.
me
Give
I
me the
got
box.
I got Half-Life, I got Doom too. I got a bunch of shit back there, but like just give me the box. The big, beautiful chunky box, not a clamshell. I don't fuck with that. But give me the nice cardboard box and just drop a piece of paper in that
Yep. With a
with like a
stink bug
manual.
or
Give me
what?
a
Yeah.
manual at least.
Oh yeah, 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 100%.
Like
I'm not even like a diehard collector, but like there are some games where it's like I love this enough that I want a
it's
physical
a
representation of
part
it.
of preservation though too, man. Like with
That
the
too,
shit that you
yeah,
have, man. Like
yeah.
preservation is also important in the industry, and that's like with WADA. WADA's trash.
It sucks that I didn't know about this. I think maybe you tweeted at me about this, but
Yeah.
I tweeted a few weeks ago. I was like, kind of want to get like a graded copy of like Max Payne and like all these other like Remedy titles just to have like the sealed,
Which
never
is it's
open for
cool. Yeah.
preservation. Yeah, but then everyone was like, "Yo, don't like WADA's bad," and I was like, "Oh, what's up?" Literally the next day, the WADA lawsuit gets announced, and I was like, "Oh, this is bad. This is a really bad thing."
It's so
So
not good. And
I think we're just gonna go the plastic case route and like skip the grading, but
when you could find it on
preservation is good.
eBay,
Yeah,
I've seen a couple Max Payne big boxes on eBay with the mouse pad inside, like
dude,
150 bucks a couple times.
that's been my grail. They pop up every once in a while when I don't
Pull it,
have
bro.
the money to spend.
I'll Venmo you.
But yes, getting the box with the mouse pad is very difficult to
I
do.
will Venmo you, bro. We'll go halfsies. It'll be yours,
Hell yeah.
but I will
Well,
help you out
we
because
get like shared custody it.
just ship it to Michigan
You've
here and
had it
there.
for 6 months and then you just ship it back. Yeah.
It's gonna be a problematic child when it grows up. Fuck, dude. Well, we have been going for an hour and 20 minutes, and I don't think this conversation is close to being done when it comes to the industry and just what we love in general.
Yeah.
So, what I'm proposing is, because I also had to check up on my son because he was trying to kill himself, is that we do a part 2 to this episode. If you are cool with that, you come back to the WASD show.
I would love to. Yeah, 100%. Dude,
Sick.
like I said at the beginning, my issue is that I could talk about stuff I love forever.
Do the same.
So like I am 100%.
Well, let's tell everybody where they can find you, what you're currently doing, what you're working on when it comes to Twitch, maybe some Ghost Key shit, maybe some from the shelf shit. Like, let's just figure out what Austin's doing.
Vintage. Yeah, yeah. So man, we didn't even talk about it. It hurts a little bit. So I'm gonna plug from the shelf because
Please do.
there's a little part of me that like the spark is still there. I used to run a podcast where we would talk about games. We used to talk about the history of games and like how things were made. Then we did one episode where we just talked about how much we liked games and some of the stuff, and everyone was like, "That's the best episode you ever did." And somebody at a show recently brought it up to me. They were like, "Hey, man, I love your music, but I liked your podcast more." And I was like, "That's sick." So yeah, I used to run a podcast called From the Shelf. You can follow us. We're on all social media if you just look up From the Shelf Games. I'm not saying it's coming back, but I'm not saying it's not. I also play metalcore under the moniker Ghost Key with four of my best friends. If you like music that talks about mental health and politics and the state of the world and what it's like to exist, that's where you can find all that stuff. I do stream on Twitch sometimes. It's not like a priority for me these days. It's more just a fun thing I do. I really like showing off like indie horror games, especially games that are made by one person. That's like a really popular theme that I do. That's AOB. Same thing on Twitter and Facebook. People use Facebook.
I don't think so.
Twitter and Instagram is just AOB UYYOHBEE. Yeah, and then I work on games. So every time a Call of Duty Warzone patch comes out, you can be mad at me about it, or you can be psyched about it because I had a very, very small hand in helping that thing get out the door, and it's a really exciting part of 40 hours of my week. So, yeah.
Well, please don't be a shithead to Austin. Austin is a great dude. And everybody, if you could tweet out hashtag bring back from the shelf, that'd be sick. Let's make that fucking happen. Even if you're not a fan of my show and you're just listening because Austin's on the show, tweet that out. Make that happen. That show needs to come back. When WSD first started, we actually bumped into your show first. And I was
Yeah, I
trying
remember
to
you guys
figure,
like tweeting at us.
yeah, I was trying to figure out like, okay, like how do I structure WASD? I listened to from the Shelf podcast, and I was like, okay, be a bit more free. Like don't structure too hard. And that's like what when I was listening to your show, I was like, just have fun. stop being an asshole. Like, stop trying to put a suit and tie on and do a video game
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
just
that's
do
all it
it.
was for us. Was just like Nick is like one of the funniest people I've ever met, and I was just like, I just want to talk about games for like an hour every week, and he's really funny and also likes games, so that's why we did it. And yeah, honestly, man, it's been like it sucks not having it because it was like one of my favorite parts of my week. So it definitely is not dead. It is a sleeping, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's a
Sleeping
sleeping
Giant.
beast. But yeah, sleeping giant. There you go. Shout out to metalcore.
Yeah, there you go.
Shout out to Christian metalcore, sleeping giant. But yeah, I want to bring it back for sure. I gotta figure out. Plus, I gotta talk to Nick because he's the other half of it.
Well, hashtag Bring Back From the Shelf podcast is a thing. I'm launching it right now. So on Friday. Yeah, man. So be sure to check out Austin. I'm gonna have all of his links in the about on this episode. I'll make sure I'm plugging you the entire week up till Friday. Don't forget to check out our sponsors. Check out Austin. You just heard from him the entire hour and 30 minutes. And check us out if you dig us. Leave us a rating. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, all that cool shit. YouTube. Check out the entire Spawn Camp network. You got us. You got the DIGGITY podcast for video game news. You got Build Bros for anime and gunpla. And you got WASD for me getting drunk as shit with Evan, talking about video games and usually just going off on tangents. Thank you guys for popping on the episode. Thank you, Austin, for hopping on to talk to us. It's been a great episode. I'm stoked to have you, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much. I had a blast.
So until next week, guys, take it easy, be safe. I'm sure you guys can hear from Austin again on the show. Take it easy, everybody.
Bye.